So imagine you haven't quite yet graduated in graphic design. You're about to get your degree in May, I believe, and you're asked by the faculty of your department to produce a piece of graphics that's going to be sent directly to the leading practitioners in the field. This is what David took on for us recently, and a remarkable result was that this was received to rave reviews by all the leading people in a field called information design. It was an announcement for our MFA in information design and visualization, and none other than Richard Saul Wurman, the founder of TED Talks, took it on himself to even sign a copy of the poster and send it back with some instructions to our faculty about what they should be doing in that program. So we have a copy of that for you as well. But David's a senior graduating in May, as I said, with BFA in graphic design. He enjoys working for mission-driven enterprises, academic research, cultural, nonprofit, performing arts and visual arts institutions and organizations. He's held co-ops with as a designer at Wojciechowski Design and Sametz Blackstone, leading firm in Boston. He's currently art director for the Northeastern music magazine Tastemakers, an apprentice at Union Press Letterpress Shop in Somerville, where some of us got our start in graphics. And his interests include art, design, architecture, typography, photography, music, cooking, rock climbing, backpacking, skiing, cycling, and board games. Maggie mentioned games too. So here's a student who's in a position to take complete advantage of everything this college has to offer, as you've heard in the previous presentation. So with that, thank you.
Thank you. And the title of my talk is Communicating Complexity Twofold, and it's about a poster that I designed for the Department of Art and Design for the new MFA in Information Design and Visualization. So that's a really long title, and for people that might not know exactly what these words mean, it's a program that would teach designers as well as people from a wide range of majors and interests in how to make compelling information pieces that explain sort of more or less complex, sets of information, as well as, instructional type of things, as well as showing, data in a very compelling way. Think of, something from a pie chart to the subway map. They both have, very, very visual ways of showing data, but with different levels of complexity. So this poster needed to announce the new program, as well as do a bunch of different things to get people interested. And it was important to us to engage different people in different majors just because we wanted to open it up to more than just designers and people who are experienced with typography and image type studies. But we also wanted to establish a visual standard for this program, as well as inform them on how to apply, where to apply, and what type of candidates we're looking for. We also wanted to show off our cool design work and some of the great student work we've had. So this is where I started as a first place. I always like to sketch, and my first idea, the notion was to make something super real and have that image and kind of translate it into something, an object or a graphic that shows our thinking of translating something that is very real into something visual. So I went with a Nautilus Shell. It is something you find in real life that has a very visual, a very grounded structure, and it's actually based loosely on, or the Fibonacci sequence, speaks a little bit to this. So that's where I started, and I think it was a little bit too complex, so we wanted to take it down, but with the same notion of having something real, very visual, something real. It could have been an architectural element, it could have been something that we could visualize. So we ended with a sphere, something very simple that people can immediately identify and feel comfortable with because it's a circle, but in a three-dimensional view. And this is actually a super high-def image of a ping pong ball And it was a great starting place because we really liked the simplicity of it as well as the impactful feeling that it gave. So from there, we started sketching more. Excuse me, I worked on this with another student, Stephen Olympio. He's also a graduating senior in May. And him and I collaborated almost exclusively over 2 months with the help of Professors John Kane and Douglas Scott. But at this point, we just wanted to continue sketching and come up with an idea to make a connection between observation in the real world and response, the work that the students would be doing. So we honed it into this idea of a poster with a front that was explaining the concept that we were going for, think back to the Nautilus Shell, and then a back, which was an actual infographic that we would create explaining to people about our program, about how to apply, about the type of candidates we're looking for, and also the type of classes they would be taking and the general outcome as they graduate as professional graphic designers or information designers. So we rolled with this idea and did some more sketches. These are just examples of what formal infographics you might be making in this program, and we liked this composition down in the right here and decided to move forward with it. And then here is an explanation of the backside, the infographic about how to apply to the program, the steps that you would take from student profile to graduation. And then this was a diagram that I did of a linear approach to this, starting with the student profile, the about, the mission, the application process, which is this whole thing, to the deadline of application. We had a little side step called Design Boot Camp, which was basically if you were coming into the program with a heavy interest in the material that we were teaching, but also didn't really have a design background, we were going to offer that over a 2-part summer course. So that was something unique to this program that we wanted to highlight. And then as well as year 1, year 2, and then the outcome, which would be a master's. So on the right are a couple sketches of how we were going to show this. This one right here is, we wanted to show it in a circular process. Think of a clock. And this was just a basic visualization of this chart on the left. So we sketched, and this is a couple of options that we came up, a bunch of options that we came up for the front. Different ways to show typography. These were our actual illustrations, both split up between Stephen and myself. And it was just a way for us to play around and come up with what was the best solution. And here are some images for the backside. You can see that there's somewhat of a linear process around this circle. And we also wanted to incorporate student work as well as other information about the program. So what we ended on was this, a very, very big, physical circle that was very clean, very simple, and impactful, something big that people could look at and kind of feel challenged. And these 6 samples up there at the top are the formal responses to something that you might see in real life and something that you might actually visualize. It could speak to the passing of time as well as population density, the one on the right, or connections between different entities. And then on the right is the backside, showing the process from right here, which is the application, going through it up to the design boot camp, down through the schooling. So this would be the curriculum plan, and these the classes, to the outcome where you would get your master's. Here's just a detail of some of the shots. These are all infographics by students, some from studies of Malaysia to media intake over 2 weeks, to the history of punk music in LA. And I went to Puritan Press where it was printed. 1,000 copies were made, And folded, it was, the final size was A1, which is about 24 inches by 34 inches. And this was a place where this printer prints about 12,000 pages a second, and since our run was only 1,000, we had to make sure it was right. So when we went to get it printed, we went to the press up in New Hampshire, and Stephen and I checked it to make sure that the colors are right. This is me. And this is what it turned out to look like. On the left is the folded up version, so how it would be received in the mail, and then the right just shows details of it printing as well as folding. And this is a little animation to show what it looks like when it folds down and folds up. So yeah, that's a project that I've been working on.